Welcome back to CIS 105. Today we're going to work on Excel Chapter 2, Formulas, Functions, and Formatting. And this begins on EX57. On EX58 you can see a printout or figure 2-1 of what a completed project should look like. Our directions begin all the way over on EX61. We'll begin by opening up Excel and creating a blank workbook. A1 should be selected automatically. If your Excel workbook is not maximized, please do so, and be sure you're on the normal view. In cell A1, we're going to type Olivia's art supply. Olivia's art supply. In cell A2, we can use the down arrow for this one or the enter key on the keyboard. We're going to type salary report. Salary report. In cell A3, we're going to type employee Then we're going to use the right arrow key to go to cell B3. We're going to type email address. We'll use the right arrow key or the tab key will work fine. Dependents. Hours. And after hours, we're going to type this a little bit differently. Hours, we're going to type Alt-Enter on the keyboard. Alt-Enter. This is going to do a text wrapping inside of the cell, and we'll show you what that looks like. So it's going to be hours worked. Tab. Notice it increases the height of that row. Then we're going to type in cell E3 hourly. We'll do Alt-Enter again. Pay rate. We can go to the right. Cell F3 is going to be gross pay. Federal tax. State tax. Tax percent. It should actually be tax space percent. Net pay. And hire date. Okay. In cell A4, we can click on cell A4. We're going to start by typing our employees' names. So there is a figure in table 2-1 on EX62 that shows all the information in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to type all the information for Janet Jones, or excuse me, Joanne Bennett. So we're going to type Bennett. Joanne. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go all the way to cell C4 so we can go ahead and press tab twice. This is going to be the number of dependents, which is 2. Then this is going to be hours worked, 64.25. In cell E4 is going to be 19.75. The gross pay, we're going to leave blank. We're going to go all the way over to cell K4. and this is going to be 4/5/12. Now don't worry about how Excel automatically formats everything. It's going to format it as a 4-digit year. Now we need to go ahead and enter all the rest of the information in the table. So I find it easiest to work by typing all of the columns, or rather rows, of information first. So we're going to type the column of information that's employees, so each row. Then we're going to type all the dependents, then hours worked, hourly pay rate, and then hire dates. You see it goes much faster this way. So this one's going to be Fred, comma, Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. We can press enter on the keyboard for this one. Emmanuel, comma, Celine, C-E-L-I-N-E, enter. K-H-A-N, comma, space, Teresa, M-A-N-T, comma, Samuel, enter. Otterman, comma, F-A-Y-E, enter. Rice, comma, James, enter. Villanova, Susan, and the last one is going to be X-I-A-O, comma, space, J-U-N. Okay, so now that we've typed that, we're going to type the rest of the dependents. So we'll click on over to cell C5 and our dependents. So this is where it gets easier, because since now we're just dealing with numbers, we can use the number pad. So there's one dependent, enter. There are 0 dependents, enter. There's 3, 2, 0, 2, 1. I think I missed one, guys. 2, 1, 0, 3, 2, oh, 2 zeros. 0, 2, and then 1. Going too fast. Okay. Hours worked. Hours worked. Now, this is where Excel is a little different here. So if I type 80.00 and I hit the enter key, watch what happens to the decimal places. It just trims them right off. So because of that, I don't have to enter any trailing zeros if they're the last number in the line. So for instance, if I type 72.50 and I hit enter, that 5 is going to be the last character left. That 0 is going to fall off. So then that means for 60, I could just type 60. And then 46. And then 75.75. And then I could just type 80 here. And this is going to be 74.25. And this one's going to be 68. So that makes things a lot quicker. Then we can go to our hourly pay rate, which is 19.75. That's the first one. It's going to be 23.10. 18.65. 18 even. 15.9, because that 0 is going to trim off, I don't even need to type it. 21.05, I have to put the 0 there. 22.5, I don't need to type it, the end 0. 21.02, enter, and then 18.43. Last thing to type are going to be hire dates. So once again, Excel is going to automatically create a 4-digit year, so don't be alarmed when you see that. So 5/7/13, 12/1/11. If you saw those pound signs or the hashtags, It's because the cell itself wasn't wide enough to fit all the contents of it, so momentarily it put the hashtags in there for you. Okay, so for cell K7, it's going to be 1/3/14, 12/3/10, 3/7/11, 2/5/11, 5/6 / need to put the 04 in there, and then 9/12/15. So that takes care of all of our data entry in the sense that this is everything we had to key in for number-wise. We're going to fill all this gross pay and all this tax information in using a bunch of formulas. But let's focus on our email addresses right now. So in cell B4, this is the email address. We're going to type JBENNET@email.com. We're going to press the down arrow key. Okay, notice it converted this to an email address. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to type the second one, which is mfred@email.com. And we'll click the enter button to confirm that one. Now, let's go ahead and let's click on Data on the ribbon tab. The next thing we're going to go ahead and do on the ribbon tab is we're going to find the item that's going to be fill flash, or flash fill. If I click flash fill, it's going to continue to fill in the rest of my email addresses here. Now notice what it did though. It went ahead and entered a flash fill for B1 and B2. So we're just going to go ahead and delete those because those aren't accurate, and I accidentally opened up my data. We'll delete that. Okay, so that takes care of our flash fill. And we did not have to go ahead and manually type every one of those. The important thing was to get Excel to determine the pattern of the fill we wanted to have happen, and then use the flash fill button. Okay, so that takes care of EX63. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to enter all of our row titles. So, afterwards, after the row A12, we're going to click on cell A13. We're going to type the word totals. We can type enter. This is going to be highest, lowest, and average. Okay, so that should take care of all of our row titles. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to rename our sheet, and we're going to change the color of our sheet. So where it says sheet 1 down the bottom here, we're going to double click it, or you can right click if you want. And we'll notice that we have a gray selection on there. This is going to be called salary report. Okay, now it's important now to hit the enter key on the keyboard to confirm this change. Okay, now that we know our text went back to green, we know we're correct. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to right click, we're going to choose tab color. See what I mean by rename is right there? You could rename. We're going to choose tab color. And the tab color we're looking for is the green color. So it's actually a standard color green, so it's going to be the bottom green color. Green. Okay. Let's save our worksheet right now. File our workbook, file, save as. We'll browse to find our classwork folder. And this one's going to be called Olivia's Art Supply Salary Report. Okay, we'll save that. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to enter our formulas here. So if you look on EX65, we'll see that all of our formulas are typed as a word problem, basically in Word formats here. So you'll see where it says 1 through 5 here. So this is the best way, in my opinion, to go ahead and enter all this information in. The book is going to step you through entering each formula, and they're going to show you pictures of where to click. The quickest way for me to go ahead and do this is just to have you guys click on gross pay, and we'll enter them across. Gross pay, so that's cell F4, and F4 is going to be equal to the hours worked, so that's cell D4. That's going to be multiplied, that's the asterisk key, by the hourly pay rate. So that's E4. And I say this is probably the best way to do this because just because it tells you to click on D4 times E4, like it says in here, that's not how things are going to work in a regular worksheet or workbook. You're going to have to know when you look at it that I want to multiply this, and you're going to multiply it by what your data is, not by the position of the data. Alright, so since we have that correct in there, we can go ahead and hit the checkbox. And we want to use the Enter checkbox because we don't want to be going over to the cell F5. We want to go ahead and continue typing our formula. So let's hit the checkbox. That's going to calculate it out for us. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the federal tax. So our federal tax is equal to 0.22 times, we're going to open a parentheses, gross pay, which is what we just calculated, minus our dependents, times 24.32, close parenthesis. If I hit my checkbox, we'll be all of a sudden entered that formula. Let's go to state tax. So that's H4. State tax is equal to 0.04 times gross pay. Checkbox. The tax percentage is going to be in I4 is going to be equal to, open parentheses, federal tax plus state tax, close parenthesis, divided by gross pay. So this should read equal to, open parenthesis, federal tax, which is G4, see the color, that's called the rangefinder, plus the state tax, H4, close parentheses, divided by the purple, which is the gross pay. So we hit the checkbox on that one. And the last one is going to be our net pay. And our net pay is going to be equal to the gross pay minus, open parenthesis, federal tax plus state tax, close parentheses. Hit the checkbox. So if we flip on over, all the way over to EX68, we'll see all of our totals in here, with the exception of net pay, and net pay is on the next page. That's figure 2-14 will show you net pay. But what we're going to do now is we're going to use our copy formulas to copy all our formulas at one time. So we'll use our white plus line to select F4 all the way over to J4. And then we'll use the fill handle, the black plus sign, to drag right on down. And that formatted everything out exactly like the book figure 2-14 on page EX69. Okay, always a good option since we've done a lot of formulas to hit the save button. So we've saved that now. So let's go ahead and use the total option here. We're going to use the sum function. So another way to do things here is to go ahead and use the built-in percentages and built-in functions inside of Excel. So let's select cell D13. That's the total for D13. And we'll click the sum button that's on the home tab. We'll click the sum button, or auto sum, that's the Greek E. And we're going to see that the totals are going to be for a total of the range D4 colon D12. Because we know that's select, or that's correct, we can hit the checkbox. And that should input the correct item here. Now, because I want to do this multiple times here, I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of doing it one at a time, I'm just going to use the control button to select cell F13. I'll hold the control key down. I'll select G13. I'll select H13. And then I'll select J13. We're going to leave I and the hourly pay rate not selected. We'll just hit that auto sum button again. And it populated all of that for us. We didn't have to do them one at a time. So that's pretty neat. Okay, let's use the tax percentage total here. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to select cell I12 and then just use the fill handle to copy the percentage down. What that's going to do is that's going to use the formula that we did for here, except it's going to append it off all the way to 13 row. See the 13s. And that figures that one for us. Okay, let's flip on over to EX72. So, in EX72, we're going to go ahead, we're going to click on cell C14, and we're going to calculate the highest. So C14 is selected. We're going to use the max function. So if we go up here to the formula bar and we type an equal sign, okay, if we wanted to, we can actually use the formula button. So let's do this, the function button. And we'll start typing max, assuming that it was in the list here already. We just start typing max. Okay, if I said go, it'd bring me to the area here where we find it, and I'm going to find the word max. And it's the, make sure you did that right for me because it didn't look right, equals MAX. Find it in the list and hit OK. Go. There it is. Now we found it. We'll click OK. Alright. So you notice now that it goes ahead and uses my formula, but my formula includes the highest out of the totals. Now that can't be right because the total for the 13 should not be included in the highest. If it was, some of our numbers would be skewed. So let's go ahead and change that. So let's use our rangefinder, or our number range here, and let's just change the 13 to a 12. If I hit OK now, it's going to say my highest out of this range was 3. If I was to copy this straight across, we'd see how that'd calculate over. But we're going to wait on that one. This time, we're going to use the min function. So if I go to the min function, so this is cell C15. This time, we're going to go up to my formula bar, and we're going to click cell C15. We're going to go to the auto sum button here. We're going to use the min function. This is my favorite way to do this because it's such a simple function. It's already pre-built in. Let's try that again because I don't think that worked that time. Min function. That time it did. But look it's the minimum of C14. Well, that's not right, because we want to use the click and drag to make this the minimum of the range C4, C12. Hit the checkbox. Minimum there is 0, obviously. My average, we're going to use the type version of how to do a formula here. So in cell C16, we're going to hit an equal sign, and we're going to type AV, and look, average shows up in the list. If we double click it, the average of what? We could type our formula, or we can simply select the range. So let's select the range. C4, C12. Hit the checkbox. It should automatically finish that formula for me by completing it with a closing parenthesis. So that takes care of that. So the average for that one is 1.22 with lots of numbers repeating. So instead of doing that over and over and over again, we're going to just use the fill formula to drag my formulas all the way over. Now the only thing we need to do is we really don't want to have an average of a tax percent. So let's go ahead and select cell I-16 and then just hit the delete key to get rid of that. Going to save our work. We're going to flip all the way over to EX78. We're going to find cell I4. We double click that. We'll see my rangefinder comes back up just to show you what a rangefinder looks like. And we'll press the escape key on the keyboard to close the rangefinder. Let's begin by formatting our worksheet, and we'll see what our formatted worksheet looks like. It's going to be figure 2-29 on EX79. If we flip on over to EX80, the first thing we'll do is we'll flip on over to page layout. We'll change our theme, which is a default Office theme right now. We'll change that to the theme that's called Ion. Mine's the top of the list here, Ion. You see that changed my hyperlink colors. We're going to begin and format EX81. Make sure we're on the Home tab. We're going to select the range A1, K1. And then we're going to use a Merge and Center button. We'll do the same thing with Salary Report, A2, K2, Merge and Center. That formats that out for us and makes it one big cell. Okay, so let's select the range A1, A2 now. So that's just clicking down like that, A1, A2. We're going to go to Cell Styles, and we're going to apply the Title cell style. Title. We're going to click on cell A2, that's the salary report, and we'll use the decrease font button. Right now it's 18 point. If we use the decrease button, it brings it down to 16 point. We're going to flip on over to EX82. On EX82, we're going to select the range A1, A2. We're going to use the fill option to fill our background color to blue, gray, accent 5, lighter, 60%. Blue, gray, that's teal. It's one of these over here. Blue, gray, accent 5, lighter, 60%. So that's correct now. While it's still selected, we're going to click the Borders button here. On the Borders button here, we're going to use a thick outside border. And we'll select any place, say A18 to deselect. Okay, so we can sort of see there's a border around here, and we've already set a background color, or a fill color. Let's select the range A3, K3. A3, K3. Those are the titles. Our cell style for this one's going to be heading 3. Cell style, heading 3. Okay. Let's hit the center button to center all of our titles. Okay. Didn't notice much of a change, but if you look at hourly and hours worked, you can definitely see that changed. Okay. Let's select the range A13, K13. A13, K13. And let's apply the total cell style here. Total. And while we're at it, let's bold the range A14, A16. Bold. That way it matches the totals. Okay, we'll flip on over to EX84. We're going to format our dates, so let's select the range K4, K12. We'll go over to our number area here. We'll see that there's dates. Let's click the drop-down arrow. Let's find the date, which we're at right now. And let's format our date for a 2-digit year again. So it's going to be 0, we have to, look at it, 0, 3, 14, 12. And we'll hit OK. That brings it back to a 2-digit year. Okay. Let's select the range C4, C16, C4, C16. These are our dependents. C4, C16. We'll hit the center button. And then let's select cell E4 just to deselect that one. E4. Okay. Let's select the range E4, H4. E4, H4. And E4, H4, we're going to go ahead and hold down the Control key. We're going to select J4 and like that. We're then going to keep holding down the Control key. We're going to select F13, H13, and then we'll select J13. Let's apply the accounting number style. So that's just the $sign here, accounting number style. We can tell that it's the accounting number style because we have 2 decimal places and our $sign is left aligned with the left side of the cell. It's not floating next to our number here. Let's select the range E5, H12, E5, H12, the Control key, J5, J12, and we'll assign the comma style. Okay, 2-digit decimal place, thousands has a comma. Let's select the range D4, D16, D4, pardon me, D4, D16. Okay. And we're going to apply the comma style to that as well. Once again, 2 decimal places and a comma if there was a 1,000th place. Okay, so that completes EX85. Moving on to EX86. Okay, so let's select the range E14, H14. E14, H14. That's the highest. We'll hold on the Control key. J14, pardon me, E14, H16, and then J14, J16 like that. We're going to apply the currency style to this. So in this case, we'll push the number button here. We'll find currency, and we'll format our currency to have our negative place in parentheses, but black text with 2 decimal places. We'll click OK. Notice the $sign hugs the number, not the left margin of the cell. Let's apply a percent style. So we'll select the range I4, I15, I4, I15, and we'll apply the percent. And then we're going to go ahead and increase our decimal. So we'll find the increase at decimal place. We're going to increase it 2 decimal places, 1, 2. Okay, so now that we've completed that, we're going to apply some conditional formatting. Let's select the range D4, D12. D4, D12. we're going to apply some conditional formatting using this button here. And the conditional formatting we're going to apply is a new rule. This new rule is going to be formatted cells that contain only a cell value that is greater than 72. We're going to format our value to have a fill color of this one here. This is just unfortunately there's no tooltip for this. And our font color is going to be white. And then we should be able to hit OK. And then as soon as we click OK now, it'll fill out that rule. And we'll see that these are highlighted, but the ones that are equal to 72 or below are not highlighted. Okay, so now we've completed that conditional formatting there. Let's change our column widths. So all the way over on EX92, we're going to drag through columns A, B, and C. And we're going to double click to best fit. And that best fits all of them in one shot. We're going to double click we're going to find the pointer for D, E, and I. H first. We're going to use the H, and we're going to change this to 10.25. 10.25 or 87 pixels. Okay. Now we're going to do D, hold down the control key, E, and I. And this one is going to be D, E, and I, and this one's going to be 7.5 or 65 pixels. So if we click the boundary box between it, 7.5, 65 pixels. That does all three of them one time. We're going to click on column F, and we're going to drag through H. We're going to hold the control key down, and we're going to select column K. J and K rather. J and K. And this one's going to be 11 or 93 pixels. So let's go to 11. 93 pixels. And we can select any place over here. So say A18 to deselect is fine. Okay. We're going to set our row heights now. So in this time here, we're going to click row 3. We're going to get our double-headed arrow here, and we're going to drag until we see 48. We're going to point to the boundary box below 14, and we're going to drag until we see 27. Or 36 pixels. And we'll click cell A13 to deselect is fine. We'll do a quick spell check. So that's on the Review tab, Spelling. It's going to assume that the person's last names are spelled incorrectly, so we can go ahead and ignore it. And there's no spelling errors. I spelled the word employee correctly. If you spelled the word employee wrong, like the book suggested us to spell it wrong, then employee would have been spelled incorrectly. Okay. We're going to flip on over to EX98, where it was going to ask us to print our worksheet. So let's go ahead and click on the page layout button. Let's change our orientation and margins. So we're going to click on adjust margins, and the margins are going to be narrow. We're going to have to go to the page layout down the bottom here. Click on page layout, and then we'll see that we see a header option here. Where it says header, we're going to type a header called Jayne space Smith. We'll press enter. Chief Financial Officer. We can select cell, say A6 to deselect. Now our header is on there. We're going to change our page orientation, so go back to page layout, orientation, be landscape mode. And then we're going to try to print our worksheet, but we're going to print our worksheet telling it that it was going to do File, Print. We're going to say where it says scaling, says no scaling, we would tell it to fit sheet on one page. And now we'll see that everything fit on one page. Now, I don't need you to print this. I just wanted you to see that if you were to print right now, you would have your worksheet with a header, and everything fits on one sheet. Let's go back to the normal view here. Let's show you how to display the formulas. So if you use Control and the accent key, that's the tilde key right underneath the escape key on the keyboard, Control accent, you'll see that all of our formulas would be printed right now if we wanted to print them. And again, I don't need you to print this, so please don't actually print it. And then we'd go ahead and turn our formulas off by hitting the same thing, Control and the accent key. You can go to formulas and you can tell it to show formulas. It does the exact same thing as the Control accent key. We're going to adjust our scaling, page layout. Our scaling right now is 91%. So we can, click the down arrow here and adjust our scaling to back to 100%. And hit OK. And that brings it back to 2 sheets again. We'd save our worksheet, and then we'll begin the process of uploading it to the portal. Okay, so we'll upload this to Excel Module 2. We'll find our file, Upload, choose File. We'll find our file under, I'm saving it to my Documents folder, CIS 105, Classwork, Olivia's Art Supply, Open, choose Insert, choose Add, and then don't forget the big giant blue button. And that concludes Excel Module 2.